Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Logbox. Today, I'm here with Mad Ruth.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, no problem, no problem, no problem. So like I always do, I always say I treat each video as if somebody just walked in brand new. So introduce yourself. Who are you?
Yes, so I call myself Mad Ruth. That was my old YouTube name. It was Mad Kadar Ruthakar, and I actually made both Ethan Van Sciver and Dan Fraga stumble over that when I became channel subscribers. And I realized, okay, I can't be using this in the chat. I'm going to drive everyone nuts. So I abbreviated that down to Mad Ruth.
And where did that come from, Matt Kadar Ruth? It sounds like
gamer tags for like old school Xbox.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it sounds like Inhumans because Black Bolt was Black Kadar Boltagon.
Ruthakar is an Angurian Sith Lord, the very first Sith Lord from
you're a Star Wars guy.
Star Lord. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. That's cool.
But yeah, so my name's Craig White. I grew up in Toronto. I joined the military in '95. I served 26 years in the military, 2 tours in Afghanistan, 1 in Bosnia as well. Comic book fan since '85. My very first issue of comics was G.I. Joe issue 50. My father gave it to me. Then Miami Mice issue 1. And then from there, I discovered the drugstore, and the rest is history. But yeah, so I've been reading since '85.
You got comics at the drugstore, not drugs.
Right.
Okay,
well,
all right.
Only prescription, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean,
you never know.
I've been a comic book fan my whole life, and my aspiration when I retired from the army, as like a pipe dream, like you got to realize you're in the army 26 years, right? So it's like when I retire, I'm gonna write someday, and then 9/11 happens, and 10 years goes by going overseas on tours, and then another 10 years goes by being an instructor at the school. And all of a sudden, oh wow, you talked about being a writer when you retire. COVID happens, and all of a sudden you wind up with all the spare time. You're in charge of managing 300 people, but you're doing it from the comfort of your home. So all the stars aligned. Star Wars in 2018 really upset me. The Last Jedi. Like I used to smoke cigarettes back then. I chain smoked 3 cigarettes after The Last Jedi. I was that upset with what I watched. Like it visibly shook in me as a person because that was my one thing was Star Wars. Right? Came out the same year I was born. I've been a fan of it my whole life. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, I was in 3rd grade when Star Wars came out, man. It was made for me. I remember my older brother. He went to go see it, and he was like, "John, you're gonna love this movie," And he was excited to take me. So we went to a movie. When that Death Star came over, that was it. That changed my life. That could have been my religion for the next 10 years. And I got to say, the prequels, I was a little disappointed, but I was mad at them, but at the same time, there was like the only way to describe it, there was a Lucas feeling about them. So right. I was disappointed, but I was just like...
But they were well managed. We had the Bible. We had the EU Bible and the canon according to George, and everything had to fit into that, right? So we at least had that. That was intact.
And then the prequels came out. What was the first? This is how much credence I put. I forgot the title. Was the first one The Last Jedi?
No, the Phantom Menace. Are you talking about the new ones?
Yeah, the new ones.
The Force Awakens was
the Force Awakens came out. I sat to that movie like, this is garbage.
Right.
This is absolute garbage. Like it looked great. The sets were good. The directing was good, but this story just, and I was so upset. And I said, all right. Well, and then what was the second one then?
For me, it was safe. I was like, okay, this is safe. Okay, you're just doing A New Hope. You're just mirroring A New Hope. I get it. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause waves. I understand this. It doesn't matter because we're going to have Grandmaster Luke Skywalker finally in the next film. And he's going to do some crazy Jedi stuff. And finally, after so many years, we're finally going to see that character on the big screen, and he ends up drinking green milk and dying of force exhaustion, right?
What was after The Force Awakens?
That was The Last Jedi. That's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
And then what was the third movie?
Because Return of the Jedi, one dies. Now you're back to Last Jedi. Right.
So the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi was the Abrams one, the second, or the whatever.
Yeah, Abrams came back for the third. The Force. No, what is this? I don't even know the name.
See, this shows you how much I thought. Yeah, I kind of. So the second one, whatever the second one was,
right? The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Skywalker saga or something. I don't know.
Yeah, within 15 minutes of that movie, I quit Star Wars, and I haven't looked back. I haven't watched The Mandalorian. I'm done. All the old Star Wars stuff, I still love, I still like, I still enjoy. Matter of fact, I've been collecting the Marvel Star Wars comics, a comic that I actively avoided as a kid because it was different than Star Wars. You know what I mean? you know, it didn't have a Lucas feel. It felt more like, I don't know, like Star Trek or something.
Right.
You know,
I've got boxes of them, so.
You know, so now I think I'm up to 18. You know, now I'm enjoying it, but I'm done. That's the way I am. I'm done. I'm done with Marvel. I'm done with DC. I'm done with Star Wars. You know, I'm done with Game of Thrones. I'm not even watching the new show, you know, because once you disappoint, like if I break up with a girlfriend, I'm not calling her up in the middle of the night. We're done.
Well, that's basically how I started making my comics. So literally 2018, I was distraught.
That's
and
what I'm
I saw
doing
the
too.
community and I saw the opportunity. I said, hey, I've got this story I've been cooking while I've been doing all these tours. Like in my head, so part of my decompression, because I was reconnaissance. So just to give you an idea, I was always outside the wire in Afghanistan.
I got to change the light.
Primarily,
I look super bold.
Yeah. So like it was my decompression to sit there and imagine, you know, be a fly on the wall and where would humanity be in 6,000 years? And then imagining this band of misfits 6,000 years in the future, very grimy, you know, environment like the Old West, with that Old West feel that like life has very little meaning in our solar system. Corporations own everything. You know, people will basically scrounge and do everything they can for a buck. That's kind of the overall feeling I wanted to have for my solar system. And then I had to create a band of misfits, you know, very reminiscent of like TV shows or you know what I mean? So I got my main protagonist, Dexter Barrow. He's like the bounty hunter, ex-soldier type, right? He's done his fair share of killing.
What's
right?
The name of your comic? I don't think you mentioned the
Stoltak. Here, I'll show you. Yeah, this is the graphic novel campaign that I did on Indiegogo. So, yeah.
And right now you have an active campaign on Fund My Comic.
Yeah, I did. Well, I'm doing. So I took this 92-page graphic novel because originally I was just trying to do 3 trades, right? So I was like, if I can raise enough, I'll raise enough. I'll get the first trade to pay for the second trade, the second trade to pay for the third trade, right? No, don't get me wrong. I'm very grateful for how much I raised, but it wasn't enough to quickly do another trade. And I very much realized a 92-page book is a big chunk of a sandwich to bite as a brand new creator. So I split it into floppies. So now I do 32-page floppies. So this is the same one, but I split it, right? And it's through Arrow Comics, by the way. That's Luke Stone.
Yeah, and there's a bundle on Fund My Comics, the Arrow Bundle A and the Arrow Bundle B. Right. I back both of those. Those look like good stuff. Great guys.
You get that in there. Yeah.
Hard to say no once you talk to these people and you realize they're good guys, you know.
And we appreciate it. Like that's what I keep saying. It's just support indie creators in general. Go to it the same way you went to the comic store, to the rack. Just pick out some books that you like and support somebody. At the end of the day, if we can all just get everyone to network.
Yeah. All you guys are polite and nice and happy and oh, thank you for reading my book. That's great. You know, you guys don't seem to interview me to see if I have the right to read your comics. You know,
right? No, please. Every time I get a backer, I'm literally doing somersaults in my house. I should film it.
I can only imagine. When people ask me like, when's your comic coming out? Do you have a mailing list? And I realize that oh yeah. I get so excited. People are showing, you know, so yeah. So great. So COVID happened, you know, the world went berserkowitz. I started a YouTube channel because I lost friends and you started writing comics, you know. Yeah, as bad as it was, it looks like we took some lemons and made lemonade out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I love it. Like this is my story. So I can't draw, but I can storyboard.
Oh, okay. You don't draw. You're the writer.
So I'm the writer and layouts. So every one of these page layouts, I at least drew a very rudimentary version of that artwork and those characters. And then my artist would come along and he basically just takes my layouts. And he's telling me right now, because he's trying to make his own comic book, he says, I never fully appreciated how much work you actually do when you completely lay it out for me and lay out the scripts. And all I got to do is pick it up and draw it.
I give Renzo Rodriguez, you know, I just describe everything. I don't even I just tell him how many panels on a page and and he's been and you know what's funny is what he's drawing is like what I was picturing. So he asked me, I said, you're fine. You know, so that's cool. You know, everybody works different.
Right. And that symmetry too, like everyone in my creative team is happy and they're over the moon when they work with me. Cause I obviously I was in the military for 26 years and I made it to a middle management rank, right? Warrant officer, which is respectable, right? You have to learn people and people's dynamics. You can't be a tyrant. You can't be everything my way. You have to learn the people you're working with and draw on their strengths. And when you see the people you're working with do have weaknesses, rather than come at them with it, how do you adapt?
Right.
You know, so like, again, I'm not throwing anyone, but let's say my flatter, right? Is it worth my time to go back and forth with my flatter over colors? Or can I just take her flats and will my colorist just take her palette and between me and my colorist, we can handle it, right? time management. Like, let's just keep the assembly going down the line, right? So yeah.
My foreman, that's the same thing. This guy might be good at pipe bending, and this guy's good with splicing. So why make this guy pipe bend? You give everybody play to their strengths.
Yeah. So
I always joke that I'm not in the military, but my foreman treats us like a platoon or squad or whatever the term is.
Right. So again, I draw on the strengths of all my creative team. I'm inspired. I take the feedback, and because of that, because you're open to just random stuff. A lot of times, my creative team surprises me with very brilliant ideas or observations that I should have figured out for myself, but I didn't. It's because they're not working for some timer and just is dropping the hammer, right? So that's probably my biggest thing about working in teams is understanding how to do that. So,
that's cool. And you said your artist is working on his own comic. Let's give him a shout out. What comic is he working on?
So he doesn't even have a name for it yet. So his name's Gonzalo Loyola. He's Chilean. He's out of Chile, but he believes in dropping communists out of helicopters. So he's the right kind. Sorry, I didn't throw that. But anyway, so he's been an artist out of there. And when I first met him, I went through like all these artist for hire boards on like Facebook and all this stuff. I must have went through about 300 artist portfolios trying to look for the right artist that I wanted to work with. And every time that list got shorter of who to reach out with, he was always at the top of the list, right? So again, I reached out to Gonzalo. Again, you can find him, by the way, Anubio Medio Art on Instagram, or I believe he's Gonzalo Bateman on Facebook. If you find me, Craig White or Mad Ruth, often at times you will see me sharing his artwork or stuff he's working on. So in any case, so we basically networked, and then I showed him these. I can show you here. These are like the trading cards I made. This is the original character sketches for each of my characters. So the first thing you have to do is flesh out your characters and make them real, right? The color schemes, the color design. So I spent about 8 months working on that with a friend of a friend who grew up in the same area I live in. So I did those. But when I reached out to Gonzalo, me and him came up with the colors. And then he started working with me. We started talking to each other. We realized right away that we synced. We were on the same page. He knew where I was coming from. I told him about Comicsgate. I was like, just by the way, I'm part of it. He's like, what is that? And I explained, well, it's just basically a group of people who don't want to be told what to do. Essentially, don't tell us what to do. Don't tell me what to think. Don't tell me what I have to buy. Don't tell me what I have to, you know what I mean? Don't
tell me what I have to think, who I'm allowed to talk to.
I'm Gen X, right? I respect everyone equally. I treat everyone the same. I don't discriminate against anyone. If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. That's my life philosophy, and I will not change that for anybody. But
do you mind if I ask you your age?
I'm almost 50. I'm
54. I was on last night with the 25-year-old. He was like, what are you, like 60, 65? I was like, thank you.
Oh, you'd be surprised. I got ID'd not too long ago, actually.
Oh, good for you. Well, you got a nice baby face. There you go. I don't get ID'd. Let's.
It's funny too because
my wife still has a baby.
I should have been like, I'm old enough to be your father, but here you go.
Yeah. They call me Pops now at work. So.
Yeah, I will have to go back to work. I got a 6-year-old son. So a lot of my time, because the school days are so short, I pretty much only have like that 6 or 7 hours that he's in school free. And plus I'm like the family taxi for a lot of things. A lot of people get me running around and doing errands. You'd be surprised. That takes up enough of your day as it is.
Yeah. I wish I had 6 hours a day to work on comics. I'd get so much done. What's funny is I do most of my comic stuff just on Sundays. So it's like one day a week. I just like, okay, I'm going to do comic book stuff. And the rest of the time I'm doing my YouTube channel or work. And I got 6 brothers and sisters. So that takes up your time too, and they got kids, birthday parties and everything. But we're talking about your stuff. This is your hour. You talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I just realized I'm talking about my family. Nobody cares.
No.
I wanted to ask you one thing. You said you were in the military for a long time, and you're retired military. Every military guy I know, like the stereotype is that you're big, mean, hulking brutes. Every military guy I know is into comic books and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And they all say the same thing. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. So you fill the time. You fill the time with Dungeons and Dragons.
Reading. Lots of reading in airports, waiting for flights or waiting for buses. Yeah.
The military guys are the nerdiest, and I love nerds. Are the nerdiest guys I've ever met. And it's so funny because the stereotype is the opposite. That you're the, push the kid reading the comic book down kind of guys. Like
well, it's just because people never really put any thought into the military besides, oh, it's just people who wear green and exercise and shoot stuff.
Yeah,
like, no,
a bunch of lunkheads is the stereotype. Yeah.
Wait till you realize the tactics that are involved, and there's like university degrees and stuff based on tactics and warfare and how things are done and the reason why we do certain things, and asymmetrical warfare and conventional warfare. Like I could bore the hell out of people, right? But like there's a lot more to it than I think people fully realize.
And like you just talked about, like I've been to war games and things like that. Like come we'll play some Warhammer or some tactical miniatures games stuff. Every military guy that there's like I said, I was never in the military. I have a lot of respect for the guys in the military, but like I played a role-playing game on Sunday with guys that I met in my area. I moved out here, I met new friends, and we were rolling up characters, and I knew one of the guys was an ex-military and former police officer. And then I went down to every one of my table with I started laughing, and they said that we were all into comic books, we're all into Dungeons and Dragons. They're all making their own terrain pieces with resin fill, I'm like, oh man,
putting that OCD, that attention to detail that the military gives you, you've got to keep doing something.
Yeah,
right? They instill that in you. So
fun. They're the funnest guys. When I was working, I had a guy who was he was some sort of special forces, and he told me 3 times, and I can't remember, but according to him, and I'm not going to argue with this guy. This guy was ripped. That he was he was rated as like one of the top 500 hand-to-hand combatants in the U.S. military. This guy was. And he never spoke. He was very quiet. Yes, sir. No, sir. He had that discipline, and everybody would make fun of me. Oh, you're into comic books. You're into Dungeons and Dragons. I talk to everybody, and it was funny because he came walking up to me, and it was like Darth Vader in Rogue One, just walking down. And I'm like, what did I do? Did I piss him off? Like he just had this presence. He's like, you play Dungeons and Dragons? I was like, yeah, like every Friday. I'm sorry. And he's like, I got to talk to you. I haven't played in a while. I was like, oh, okay.
So the joke about walking by, all those tabletops and all those people out in tabletops, open the door and screaming into the room full, nerds. What you don't realize is all those people in that room, they also take karate and taekwondo.
Yeah. Right. How you doing, Brittany? How's it going? How are you? So anyway, I derailed you and went off on my own tangent, but that's my point. They're the nicest guys. Mm-hmm. They're the most approachable guys.
Don't mess with them.
I don't mess with anybody, but yes, I don't mess with military. But and like they're the nerdiest guys in the best sense of the word. Like, look at you got Spawn toys. And,
huge Spawn fan right from the inception of Image. That was my I get made fun of for that. I'm a huge Image fanboy. When Image Comics emerged, so I was reading Spider-Man, the first 1 to 16 when they gave Todd his own series, trying to keep him at Marvel. I that's when Todd first came on, because he's also Canadian as well, if I didn't let the cat out of the bag with that. So that was the first kind of brand name for me. I know it'd be like, really, Todd McFarlane? I'm just being honest.
I got Spawn from the beginning too. It petered out right away, but it was excellent when it started.
Right. So I was just excited with Image. So I was at that point when Image first started where I was trying to take every Image comic that was on the rack. If it had an Image logo in the top left, I was like, I'm going to buy it. Eventually, you just can't keep up.
If you were into comics, it was the most exciting, fun thing. And you couldn't not be excited about Image. You're like, oh, wow, and you got, and then
Bloodstrike, Glory, Supreme, Brigade, every one of them you can go through. I picked them all up.
Unfortunately, they weren't too many writers,
Right.
That's what soured me on Image. Is these guys were phenomenal artists, but
that's what inspired you that, hey, I could do this, right? When you drop the standard, you're like, I could. That's why I've
been dropping standards my whole life.
Right. So like with Star Wars comes out, okay, I can do better than this. If this is what I'm gonna spend $40 to get a ticket and sit in a theater, and you're literally spitting in my face and mocking me with what's on the screen. Like, what did you just do to the thing I love? You know what? I'm going to spend my own money, and I'm just going to prove I can do it better. So even though I've sold 500 copies in 3 years of like all my books, 500 copies of everything. There's 500 soul tack things floating around out there now. Right. So anyone who reads it, they come back positive. This is exactly what a science fiction book should be. That was a fun adventure.
Okay, it's sci-fi.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's my own. This is my answer to. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like you go through this, you're gonna see what you would call it, Escape from New York. You're gonna see like the whole bounty hunter stereotype. You
Oh,
see Mad
you don't have
Max
to
in the hair.
apologize for
Yeah.
for
So,
attributing the stuff you love.
samurais and Jedi, it's Neo Samurai, right? With my own, this is what like I think law enforcement will eventually technology will be with a eye visor where it has all the different thermal views. He doesn't have to put something on and off. Earpiece directly built into the headset, right? Like this is all the things that rattle around in my brain for how things will be in 6,000 years. So this is like the AI. Basically, this is the sons of strife. One of them's the biological son, the other's the first sentient artificial code. So he's his own code and his own isolated from the hive. He's a free thinker out of the artificial intelligence. And if it needs a reset, he can do it. You know what I mean? He'll wipe out the rest of the coding and he'll take over. And then their organic father, that is the father of the sons of strife. This is all the crap that's just rattling around. Like I said, 6,000 years in the future, if I could see where humanity would be, what do I imagine the universe to be like?
Yeah. That is cool. Yeah, again, you don't have to apologize for attributing the stuff that you love. My comic is a love letter to the Marvel comics of my childhood. If me, a 50-year-old man, could show some 30 or 25-year-old, this is why I loved comics, and make a couple of bucks off it, then I'm successful. So yeah. More power to you. You know what you like, and you want to share what you like with other people, because they're not doing it now. They're messing it up. So why not us? I forget who it was, but I said I always wanted to make a comic, and they said, "Well, what are you waiting for?"
Right.
And I was like,
"So
I didn't know an answer."
A lot of people get in this field for the wrong reasons. Yeah, you do need the money to continue. We all get that, right? It costs me, and I don't even hide it. It cost me $6,000 to make one of these, right? That's how much it costs, flat out. If I can get $6,000, I could run sustainably as long as I wanted to. If you're not going to raise that, then is it a hobby? Is it something you're doing just because you feel the need to create?
Yeah.
And obviously, those prices go down if you do the art yourself. So when someone does their own colors, their own art, their own lettering, boom, that how much they need to raise becomes significantly less. So you'll see a lot of people break out on this, but they don't do the art, they don't do the writing, they don't do the coloring, right? So it just gets more and more and more expensive, and then they get upset because they can't reach those goals. Whereas other people maybe raise 2,000 and they're over the moon because they do more of that work.
Yeah, everybody's different. Yeah. But because I'm not going to mention names, I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings, but I've seen guys with successful campaigns making $1,200, and I'm like, if my successful campaign is $1,200, then I guess this was a one-shot thing that I got out of my system, because I wouldn't be able to afford it as much as I love it.
Well, because it's gauging what you determine to be a success, right? So just the fact that I was able to create and create that graphic novel and bring my imagination into the world and prove I could do it, that was my own goal. Hey, I'm not just all talk. I didn't just say I was going to write something when I got out of the military. I didn't procrastinate by saying, hey, I bet you I could do this better than you. I actually proved I could do it better. That's separate from how much money it raised. It's all what people thought of it, right? So
that's cool. Well, first off, I admire anybody who does this, and I started. I've been writing comic book scripts since I was a little kid. So I always had scripts. I took them out, I revisited them and rewrote them and updated them and stuff. And now I'm in the point where I'm realizing, geez, I didn't realize what I didn't know. A little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.
Curve.
I'm going to hire an artist and we're going to make a comic book. I was talking to Peter Cimetti, and he was talking about flats, and I'm like, and a pre-press guy, I'm like, what's this? Like, I didn't even know there were steps. It's another guy I got to hire. It's another,
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So
you're going to want that step, yeah. You can just keep bashing heads with the colorist, or you have an opportunity to make some very easy changes with the flatter, which then makes the coloring easier, right?
Maybe I'm naive, because so far the coloring looks great, but then when it gets to the flatting stage, so who knows? I don't know. I'll find out when I find out. Issue this is the learning curve. Issue 2 will be the either
sustainable.
Easier or ain't gonna do it. But
that's where I'm at too. So the good thing is about print, and people get so worked up, right? They get so worked up. So I've got these books now. Like, look how many. I've only been printing books since 2020. So how many years are we talking? 3? And I've been doing it through crowdfunding. So I've got a black and white version of my book. I got a color version of my book. So I basically took the line art and I just added blood to it. I made 2 graphic novels, bang them off the top.
And you said there were 96 pages each, right?
92.
92 pages. God
and then
bless.
I split that same book into 3 floppies. And then, you know what I mean? All that. Oh, and then I had a half issue. Remember I said I originally had to make the original characters? So I basically made that into a freebie, which is all the original character designs. Which is
wow, that looks like early image right there. You could definitely see you like the early image.
So when I go to the artist and I say this is what he looks like, there's no debating, right? This is what he looks like. And so every time it's not drawn properly, you just go back to the Bible. This is what he looks like, right? So yeah, these are all the steps. And
did you draw that freebie? Did you draw those characters?
No, I wish. No,
I remember you said that you did some drawing for layouts to guide your artist. So I didn't know that.
I can give you some. So this is all me. This is 100% me.
Oh wow!
These hieroglyphics. That insanity, that mess.
That's a million times better than me.
yeah. That's what I do for my artist. So I give those to him, and I even draw them better. I'll draw them a little bit bigger than that, the layouts, just so it's crystal clear.
Drawings of my characters,
but at the same time, I don't stifle him and say you have to do it my way. So his biggest,
I sent Renzo, my artist, my drawings, and I said you're an alchemist because you took lead and you transformed it to gold.
Right.
It was fun. I was like all excited. Oh my god, that's what it could have been if I was only talented. It was exciting. It was fun, and I got to say, every step of the way has been fun. But now the nerves are getting in,
Yeah, like I said, first and foremost, do it for yourself.
Or is it still fun, or is it work now?
It wants the same thing for anything, right? If you're going to play basketball for a living, I hope you're doing it because you love doing it. If you're going to play baseball for a living, I hope you're doing it because you just love doing it.
Excellent point.
There's better ways to make money than this,
Yeah.
I
have no illusions that it's going to be my new career. And you know what? And I've already heard. Maybe you could give me some feedback on this. Not mean, but some people like if you're not all in, then you're not doing it right. Like I'm not quitting my day job. You can't afford me. I'm an electrician. We do pretty good. I can't quit that. Plus I'm 2-3 years away from retirement. You know what I mean? I ain't quitting that. So don't bust my chops because I'm not doing comic books 24/7. It's like you said, is it a hobby? I mean, if you make any money, like it's not a hobby anymore, right? It's a side hustle.
Right. Yeah. I just want to be sustainable. My goal, so I'm not out there, going from one book to another book to another book. I will be helping my artist with his own book because he just wants to create it. He just wants to put it out there. And you guys understand, he's in South America.
For him?
I'm going to help him with the translation. He's very nervous about his English. I don't know why. Like he won't come on streams and he won't do stuff. But he's a brilliant artist, right? He's very shy when it comes to promotion. So it's fine. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of the campaign. I'll take care of getting it out there. And we've talked about a realistic goal. But what was I going to say? I lost my thought.
I'm sorry.
I was going somewhere.
Well, let me ask you. You brought this up that he's a little shy to do his own promotion. And that's another hot topic is I like to think that one of my gifts is, and I'm not doing it very well with you right now just because I think I'm just sick, that I'm good with letting, helping you out, like getting the shy guys to open up and talk and everything. But there's a few guys who came on my channel, like we talked before we went live. They're like, I hate doing this. I'm so nervous. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel because a lot of artists are guys who sit, they became good artists because they're introverts. They stay home. They like to draw, they don't. And then there's guys like me. I'll talk to you on a bus. I'll talk to you in the subway.
Right.
I'll talk to you online, get my bacon, egg, and cheese. So what do you think? Do you think to do this?
So here's the one step everyone misses. I missed it myself, so I'm just as guilty of it. The promotion is just as important as creating the book.
You go.
People get so, and I understand it. They get obsessed with their art. It all becomes about their art. You're not trying to be a narcissist. No one's calling you a narcissist, but you're very much me, my book, the book. It's got to be the book. It's got to be the book they're rejecting, right? No, you've got to get yourself out there. You have to interact with people. People have to invest in you. You have to put as much energy into growing an audience and people that invest in you as much as you do your book. And I think everyone misses that step, and they don't realize it just takes time to grow that momentum, to grow an audience, to get people to talk about your book, to people to see you. And like, I think we were kind of talking about this too, about how I'm very hesitant when I haven't even seen the person on social media. I haven't even seen them back a book. Like, I haven't even said hi to the person in the chat to then turn around and give somebody money. But if I've seen somebody's around and I see they're doing what I'm doing, like, this is all about us networking. I don't know how we got away from this. Everyone's become all fiefdom with their own castle and their own moat, doing their own thing. Networking. It's like how bees pollinate flowers and then we get better fruit, right? It's the same thing with creating. We all need to network and share. Look what I read. Review what you read. Show what you've bought. Back a couple good books. Network. Show what you think is cool, right?
Not back end. Geez, every day I'm getting a package in the mail.
Yeah. Just that's the piece that needs to happen, right? So I'd love to bring it back as a community. Yeah,
I agree. Like, again, I wish I could remember who said it, but I probably Pete Sabetti. He said everybody has to be their own Stan Lee, because Stan Lee is gone. You know, when you work for Marvel, you know, I'm trying to think of people whose names I don't want to insult, but you know, the Len Weins and whatever. They didn't have to go on a promo tour because Stan Lee was doing it for them.
Right.
And I kind of get a little annoyed right now at Marvel because what's his name? CB Cebulski. He's sitting in Stan Lee's seat, and my mom knew what Stan Lee looked like. My dad knew what Stan Lee looked like. You know, oh look, it's that comic book guy that you like. You know, when Stan Lee died, my sister-in-law bought me Rest in Peace Stan Lee. You know, and she felt bad. She knew the guy. She wasn't comic books in the slightest. But try to explain to her that CB Cebulski's sitting in that seat now, and they're like, who?
Don't you think it's horrible that someone's still using Stan Lee's Twitter handle out there to put stuff out?
Yeah. Every time I said, you know, I said before we were talking before we went live, and I said I don't fight with people on Twitter anymore. The exception is whenever I see Stan Lee's Twitter, I just say, right, enough said, and never say anything else again. So go look to see if Stan Lee, the last thing he said, the third or fourth comment is going to be me saying, just type enough said and never say anything again. Old dirty fatty, you talking to people. You're my wife. She we had a family party this weekend. It was my brother's retirement party, and she's just like, oh my god, I have to. Not that she doesn't like my family. She's the introvert. I'm the extrovert. You know.
I think my tombstone's gonna have something to the effect on it that nobody speaks on my behalf.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
Nobody speaks for me but me.
I can't believe,
you know, so and so would have thought this. So and so would not have liked what you guys are doing.
Yeah, how many Antifa people are telling you? Jack Kirby was Antifa.
Yeah, you know who speaks for that, for whoever, whichever name it is, that person and that person alone. Right. And you are not them.
Yeah, some 17-year-old kid lives in Portland, knows exactly what Jack Kirby was.
Right.
Jack Kirby was in an ethnic gang. He was a little Jewish kid fighting the Irish kids, fighting the Italian kids. You know, he was short, so therefore he's probably the toughest son of a bitch on his block. There's nothing scarier than a little guy who could fight.
So just a little bit about my family. My mom was originally from Iowa, USA. She moved to Toronto in '69, the whole anti-Vietnam, you know, no kid of mine's ever going to join the military. She took all my guns away. So she made me a conservative, really. That's what kids do, right? They rebel against their parents. So they're very much the hippies. My father, he was English-speaking Irish. Got kicked out of Quebec because they went like full-on francophone. Like even if they could speak English, they pretended they couldn't. So because he wasn't bilingual, he couldn't get a job. No one would acknowledge him because he just spoke English. So Canada
has a lot of stripes that people don't seem to know. My wife is Canadian. Right. She's from Winnipeg.
Yeah. Okay. So they met in Toronto, right? So that's how I ended up, you know, picking my house in. So you get that whole dynamic. Where was I going with that one too? About people and dynamics. See, I got a memory like a squirrel. I was going somewhere with that. It'll come back to me.
I do that to people. I distract them. So Toronto is one of my favorite cities. My brother-in-law lives in Toronto, and so we go up and visit every once in a while. You know,
I spent 25 years. I know where I was going with this. I grew up in a very multicultural neighborhood, so I get where you're coming from with Kirby. But at the same time, all my friends were very diverse. All my relationships were very diverse. You know. But yeah, I grew up, you know, not with a lot of money, right? It's not like, you know, that there's a lot of money coming in. Both my parents
was a phone guy, you know.
I got my mom who basically said, you know, screw you to her family and took off and headed to Toronto, and my father coming to Toronto for a job. So that's basically my upbringing in the 70s.
So you're living in Toronto right now?
No. I joined the military. I ended up joining the military. Now I live 20 minutes east of Maine, so I'm where there should have been a 14th colony. Where I like to write the history that we tried to sign the Declaration of Independence. We tried to make our way down, but those bastard British garrisons, they blocked all the routes. That's why we didn't get there. Otherwise, where I live right now would be the 14th colony and part of the United States.
What is that?
New Brunswick. New Brunswick.
Yeah.
That's where after the Revolutionary War, everyone who was still loyal to the British, they packed up and moved out here. So,
okay, yeah. I've never been up there. I've never been in because I've been to Vancouver, which is absolutely gorgeous. I've been to Toronto, and I've been to Montreal. As far as Canada goes, and I keep telling my wife I'd love to fly out to Vancouver and then rent a car and drive, because I've driven across the United States plenty of times. But now that I have a Canadian wife, it's like, let's drive across Canada. See all go. I'd like to go see Nunavut and all the lesser known Canadian places. So
the land's beautiful.
Where you live, it's a lot of trees, right?
Yes, nothing but trees. Flying in here, you're over nothing but trees for about 22 minutes. It's just trees. Whoa, this is the middle of nowhere.
I was going to ask you, have you got the Smokes Poutineery in Toronto?
Yeah, I think we got one of those out here actually too.
Oh, you do?
It's a franchise, yeah. So
yeah. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, it's a French fry and gravy and cheese place.
But it's like a meal. It's a meal.
And they put everything like. My wife and I, we walk it, and I think she had left before Smokes had started, so she didn't know what it was. We're like, we got to go. Probably should have got an ambulance on the way out. We were like, oh my god, we ate too much.
I like my fast food places, I'll admit, but I try not to eat too much of it in a week. Like once or twice a week.
Shout out to Tim Hortons. For those of you who've been watching my channel, they know that's my coffee of choice. My wife has converted me to Tim Hortons coffee. She's slowly turning me Canadian. Except she does. I like back bacon. She doesn't. So there you go.
I like my steaks.
Yeah.
I used to where I was place where I was living briefly right before I went regular in military. Very poor neighborhood. I used to go for a steak dinner every. This is a shout out to Donald DeLay, by the way. I used to get my steak well done at this place. Finally, one day the chef came out.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, threw the steak down, medium. You try that. And he stood there and watched me eat it. That's good, right? And I was like, yeah. And go, good. He walked away. I never got a well done steak again after that.
I remember my grandfather, God bless him. He had a steak pit in the back, and he just burnt the crap out of every steak. It was crispy, it was leather shoe. So I never liked steak. So I was an adult, and my friend got his house. He's got his barbecue, and he's inviting us all to steak. And I was like, I don't like steak. And everybody turned around. It was like that scene in The Family Guy when he says, I don't like The Godfather. Everybody turned around like, what do you mean you don't like steak? I'm like, it's gross. It tastes like freaking shoe leather. And so he said, John, all kidding aside, he goes, I'll get some burgers, and if you don't like my steak, I'll cook you a burger. I'm like, I'm not going to say no to my friend's house. He got filet mignons. I was like, oh my God, this is what steak is? Because my grandfather made the burgers like hockey pucks too, I guess whatever. And now, and my wife says in Canada, all the food, like except for steakhouse, all the burgers, everything are well done by law. Is that
kind of? Yeah, it's true. They cook.
She if I cook burgers on my grill, I gotta cook the crap out of it, because that's what she's used to. So I'm like, I'm not taking you to a steakhouse. I'm not spending $100 for you to get a shoe.
Well, some people. You go to the fancier restaurants, they don't. Obviously, you go to a restaurant, any restaurant, and they ask you how you want your food given to you. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. When it comes to like the fast food place, yeah, it's horrible. I just assumed everyone's fast food quality had really gone downhill, but it's all frozen. All of it, from Burger King, McDonald's, all of them, all frozen. It's frozen on trucks for months or week, before they cook it.
Yeah.
Who wants? Yeah, yuck.
Yeah. And Canada's getting weird, huh? They again, not to get political, but I guess I get political. I can't believe they shut down the bank accounts of all those protesters.
Yes, and they were proud of it too, like a total infringement of your civil liberties. Well,
absolutely. Like to me, Canada, Justin Trudeau, they played his hand too quickly because
They wanted to see what they could get away with. That's what the whole thing was. It was, let's see what we could get away with. It was the globalists. It was the globalists in an attempt, and they didn't just do it to Canada, they did it to everybody. And it was each country doing their own little thing to see what they could get away with you know, just
Absolutely.
for research and data.
When that happened, I was just like, oh man, things are bad, you know. And now the EU, or the what is it, the WEF rather, that they're trying to get rid of currency and make it all digital currency,
right.
And then they could shut up.
They want us all to have social scores. This isn't like people say, wow, you're a conspiracy theory dude, but this is the reality where they want to go. They want this phone.
3 years ago, this was
our new,
but they're literally saying it.
Yeah. They know who you are. They can track you. They can find you. They can hear you. They can talk to you. They can check your social score, how you're perceived in the general public on your Facebook and on your Twitter. If you're a good person, you're more eligible for a loan. If we've determined you're a bad person, we're going to take away job opportunities and take away. You either play along with the people who want you to play along, who control the device, or we make you go away. This is scary, like Orwellian 1984 stuff.
That's why
you can't. That's where it's
during the lockdowns. I was living in Queens, you know, one of the 5 boroughs of New York, and I'm walking down the street by myself, and people are pulling up to me. Put a mask on, you asshole! And I'm like, I'm by myself.
I had to get jabbed 3 times. Like, I don't want to get too much of my finances, but I was so close to my pension. If I had walked away from the military where I was at, they would not have given me my pension, which then would have been a return to contributions, which then would have been put in a bank account. I would have lost. We're talking 6 figures of money if I didn't complete the entire 20 years of the contract, right? So I had to get jabbed 3 times. But the part that makes me laugh is going to like a movie theater, and like you have to pull out your piece of paper in front of some 14-year-old kid, and he's like looking at his shoes, going like, "Sorry, sir, I just have to do this." And he's not even looking at it. And then once you walk past him, you have the liberty of taking your mask off now and interacting with all the other
when I sit down in the restaurant, I could take my mask off.
This is really a pandemic, everybody. This is really a pandemic. Like, give me a freaking break.
All the diners and restaurants in Manhattan, they went outside and they built these wooden structures with tables, and the waiters came. So we were outside because we couldn't eat inside, but we were inside outside. I'm like, oh, this should confuse the virus, you know. So
sitting down because it goes over your head, right?
Yeah. So my friends, like, because I told them, I said, I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this vaccination. I said, first off, it's not a vaccination. Vaccination, I could jump in a pool of
another experiment. They wanted to try mRNA in a
liquid smallpox, but I'm not going to get it because I'm vaccinated. I said, but if you know, they're like, we're not coming over because you didn't get the shot. I said, well, does your shot work? So I lost my D&D group, my comic book friends, you know. So I'm in Queens by myself. Strangers are yelling at me. I said, let's get the hell out of here. And I moved out here, and it was great because like we went to a diner. When you move, you can't cook that night. You know, everything's in boxes. I said, so honey, let's go to a restaurant. She's like, are they open? That's how bad it was, you know. So we went to the restaurant. People walking around, TVs on, people laughing and joking. You know, people with Trump shirts on. I was like, I came home. Oh my God! Why didn't you know? Everybody was laughing. Nobody's yelling at you for a mask. Once in a while, you saw somebody with a mask, but you know that's your personal choice. You know, whatever. I was like, oh my God! And when they told us stay home, no work, I drove to Pennsylvania and I bought a big box of ammo. You know, everybody's going to think I'm a crazy person. And my wife started crying. You're going crazy. And I said,
I knew what that was right away. That was a way to squeeze the middle class. That was all about grabbing money. Like, again, this isn't conspiracy stuff. This is how economics works. Those mom and pop stores, right, that have that overhead in their rent, they have a contract to the person that owns that building. They can't sever that contract. They have to pay X amount of money per month to rent out that space. If you put those people in a financial predicament where they can no longer sell their goods, they now have to pay all that overhead and rent.
Pop stores, Kmart did fine, Walmart did fine. You know what I mean?
Because they were allowed to remain open.
Right, and then I had to laugh because there was essential workers. I was an essential worker. I was working on the bridge at the time. You know, so George Washington Bridge. So I never missed a day of work. But there was a guy by the car wash holding a sign. Why is he working? That's essential. Like, how dare the government could tell me I'm essential? You're not essential. So I said, honey,
you must comply.
Yes. Yeah. So we moved. And it's funny because by the end of 2 years, she was like, I don't think you bought enough ammo. You know, it's funny that this Canadian who wasn't political,
I know it's the same. So 2018, everyone thought I had a tinfoil hat on at work because I was talking about all this stuff, right? Cancel
Absolutely.
culture and Marxism and the introduction of slow socialism. What was it? I forget his name. The guy with the hammer there, Soviet fucking
Khrushchev.
Right?
Yeah.
That we don't have to fight you. We don't have to fire a single bullet, right? We will
Yeah.
just slowly saturate you with socialism until you become communist,
Right.
right? And people are like, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. 2018, you got a tinfoil hat on. And by the time I left in 2020, everyone was pale faced because they knew I was right all along.
Well, I remember my
2022
cousin,
is when I retired.
I was teaching I was teaching the apprentices, and I got into an argument with one of the other teachers, a full blown communist. And I said to him, and he's like, "Oh, you're what did he say? You're a fascist." I said, communists and fascists are the same thing. I said they're both collectivist. I said you have your whole political spectrum wrong. First off, you're a communist, so you're wrong. But second off, it's against individualism versus collectivism, and those are the two parameters that everything should be viewed. And he's like looking at me and doing this. That was the last conversation I had with this guy.
That's why they suppress the truth. The simple argument that every human being has their own lived experiences, their own life. Some have done well, better than others. Some have benefited from financial wealth. Some have lived up in some broken homes and observed some pretty, deplorable and horrible upbringing, abuse, traumatic experience. That's not differentiated by sexual orientation or race or gender or skin color. That's lived experience.
Right.
And you can't deny that that's a thing. Right.
Well, look at me. I'm one of 7 kids. First off, I'm the comic book guy. My older brother, he's 6'5". Okay, and we even have the same job. This guy was one of the bosses. He just retired. This guy's doing well. He's traveling the world now. You know what I mean? And then, me, I didn't want to. You know what I mean? I'm not doing bad, but I was hurting for a long time. And we had the same dad. We have the same skin color. He made different choices than me. I went to college and I've been paying off student loans. Until, you know what I mean? Yeah. So how can he a white privilege? I just have to laugh. People say white privilege. It's like an insult, Well, but then it's easy to say it's that guy's fault than your fault.
Again, it's a way to take away from groups, right? Right. I mean, the goal behind that is to take away from people who happen to be white, and again, people happen to be straight, or people happen to be Christian and religious, right? Just take from those people and make them feel bad for things that they haven't done, and it's a form of exploitation, and you're using people. You're using.
Now that I finally made 9,900 subscribers, I'll lose people right here by saying, and that's why Trump has to be annihilated, because he said no more foreign aid for countries that hate us. And that's how all the politicians make their money. That's the money laundering.
I'm Canadian, so I can just abstain from not get into it. That's the one great thing about being Canadian is I can just abstain.
I was in Oklahoma during the pandemic. Yeah. Basically, nothing changed from grocery stores and fast food not being open. I think the smaller the community, the less it affected you. But I was in New York.
I think we can all agree politicians are scumbags. I think we can all agree that.
I said, name a politician that you would have over your house at Thanksgiving and sit down and enjoy. I said, even my guys.
Every one of them has financial interests. Every one of them got where they got because multi-million-dollar corporations.
It's my house. He's an asshole.
But at the end of the day, you're voting for your team based on your own personal self-interest. What is this person doing for me to justify me voting for them? And that's at the end of the day, that's what democracy is. And we need to stop attacking each other because somebody exercised their freedom and their right to put a ballot in your box. That's what that freedom is. Stop letting these politicians divide us and get us to fight each other and beat the shit out of each other, argue with each other, separate our families. Now you're ostracized from your own family because you didn't wear a stupid mask that you knew didn't do anything anyway. It's designed that way. At the risk
of sounding gross, I was arguing with one of my friends, and I'm like, he's like, you got to wear a mask. So I cut a fart. I go, can you joke about?
I said, happening over there.
I said, I'm wearing underwear and I'm wearing jeans, and you could still smell my fart. Now you got to tell me that this mask is gonna stop it. You're gross, but you made a point.
Right, exactly. But we used to joke about that being over there, like the craziness in the Middle East. Thank goodness that stuff's not happening here. The nonsense of you know what? They just found a way to get us at each other very much.
I think there's one thing we could both agree on. We got to get rid of Biden, and you got to get rid of Justin Trudeau.
Yes, absolutely. He's destroyed our country. Every country's done this. They printed 20% of the currency in circulation has been printed in the last, sorry, a third of the currency in circulation was printed in the last 8 years. That means for 160 years, 2/3, a third of that in just 8 years, completely destroyed the valuation of our dollar, our money.
Yeah. You know, and like I said, I've been fortunate. I've been working consistently. Like during the lockdowns, I still worked, and I feel like, you know, I had a storage unit for all of these wonderful comic books and everything like that, and then I had rent. So if you know, when I moved here, my storage unit plus my rent is pretty much exactly the same as my mortgage, and I feel like I could barely get by. You know, my wife and I last night we're talking about bills, and I'm like, how is it that we're paying the same? You know, and you know, it's because everything went up, the price. Because I don't do the food shopping. I guess I'm a chauvinist. My wife does all the food shopping. And last night I gave her $100, and I was like, "Where's the change?" She's like, "There ain't no change." You know, I'm like, "This is it." You know, and we were laughing. You know, you know, but you know, no mean tweets. So I guess it's all good, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The problem is, see, it's the thing with the greedy too. Like, who depends on who you vote. Is one of them actually going to do something that's in your own interest? Because did the taxes ever come down? Did the price of the goods ever come down? I mean, yeah, they do with like big screen TVs. Like those were $3,000 once. Now you can
all electronics always goes down. Yeah. I remember installing flat screen TVs when they first came out. They're like, these are $10,000. So we had 3 guys holding a flat screen TV. The thing weighed as much as a wafer, and we're all shaking, holding it up. You know, this is 10,000. And now, you know, I just got a 65-inch TV when I moved here. The thing was like $400. You know what I mean? Right. I'm like, now $400 is still a lot, but you know, not it was twice as big as this $10,000 TV that I was once installing 10 years ago. Yeah,
I had the 150-pound unit with the rear projector. You know, the thing you had to haul around, and it got its own special spot in the room.
Yeah, when my father died and we sold his house, I actually had to take a Sawzall and cut his TV because to get it out of the house, this thing was a monstrosity. This thing must have been 30 years old. You know, and now me and my wife are like 65-inch screen TV
carried under your arm out the store.
Yeah. So we kind of got lost. Let's talk about Saltac. You know,
I'm just happy to hang out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, me too. You know, my wife says you've been doing a lot of talks. I said I'm enjoying it. If I didn't enjoy it, because this is what I wanted to do during COVID. I was like, you know, I want to talk about comic books with people. You know, I want to talk to people because I'm a people person. I like to talk to people. My wife, you know, her life didn't change. You know, she likes to watch TV. She likes to read her books. She talks to me. But I was like,
yeah,
you know, so now, you know, I don't mind doing all these talks. I'll talk to everybody, you know, but you know,
awesome.
And last night I was on, I call him a kid because he was under 30, and it was so much fun because he was asking me who would win in a fight, you know, Batman or Captain America. Like I haven't had that kind of fun comic book talking along. I was really enjoying it, you know, and he was like, well, this is why I think Captain America would win.
Yeah, I was
and he's
say
like,
Captain America.
What's that?
I was going to say Captain America.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said because you know the superhero theory is the specialist is better.
The money only goes so far. Eventually, you'll break them.
You know, like if Flash is going to race Superman, Flash has to win. Otherwise, what's the point of Flash? Right. So Captain America is going to fight Batman. Batman is not the greatest combatant. Batman is the greatest detective. So Captain America has to beat Batman in a fight. But when Batman is when Captain America is challenged with a whodunit, he's got to go get Bruce's help. You know.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
He's a hammer. He's a hammer. He smashes. You point him.
Well, he's a leader. He's a leader. You know, that's why Captain America could hang in the Avengers and tell Thor what to do. Captain America, he's the big picture. He runs everybody. And he's smart enough to realize that he doesn't have the capacity for the fingerprints and solving the crime, stuff like that. So Batman's on the Avengers, say, and it's like, okay, Thor, you take out Count Nefaria, you know, the Wasp, you will go over there and recon, you know, Beast, get rid of civilians, Batman, you figure out who did this, you know, and then Captain America stands there with his shields, you know.
Which is exactly what I talked about with creating a comic. You're going to draw on people's strengths.
Yeah, you're Captain America or you're Captain Canada.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So again, I got distracted because I'm easily distracted. But let's talk about Saltac issue 4.
Sure. So you want me to give you the outline or talk more about the story?
Whatever you want to talk about. This, you know, this is your hour, and I monopolized it because that's what I do.
Okay, so like I said, I previously created the the graphic novel, which is no longer available, but now I'm offering these 3 floppies here. So this is issue 1, which you said you're going to have, and I'd love your feedback. Tell me what you thought of it. Tell me if you loved it.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, if you go to Fund My Comic, there's the Arrow Comics bundle. There's Arrow Bundle A and there's Arrow Bundle B. Geez, that was difficult to say. I backed them both because I'm a crazy person. So I don't even know what's in it. I just talked to Luke Stone. He's a great guy. You know, I talked to you now. So now I'm like, I like these guys. I'm going to get their comics.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you.
I you know, because I love comic books, you know, and, you know, so they didn't get here yet. I didn't even look what was in the bundles. I just want to open it up and be like, wow, look at this. This looks cool. Oh, wow.
So I can even give you a bit of feedback. What's holding it up, and I'm not throwing anyone on the bus, is Chrome Dog. Just got to finish those last few pages of Chrome Dog. Once Chrome Dog's done, all those books are getting out.
Okay.
And they know that it's transparent. It's out there.
And I had Justin on my channel.
Yep. And he's apologized. He's like, yeah, we're so close, but it won't be very long.
I'm very Look at this. I got this stack of comics over here.
Exactly.
So I'm you know, you know, again, not throwing any, but when a comic's 3 years late, I get a little annoyed because then I don't remember the details. But you know,
So see, like mine stink alike. I got a stack of them right there myself that I'm putting on eBay. Yeah, so I didn't quite put my camera back right. But
Teddy says, I like John's reasonings for who would win are based on writer's perspective of how to keep it interesting. Yes. Yeah, John Byrne. I'm not a. Oh, look at that. But yeah, come. You look like me and you live like we're facing each other in the same room is what it looks like. You know.
Right.
What Blue Teddy says that was John Byrne's idea. He explained it so much better than me. That the specialist has to be better, otherwise, what's the point? Like, you know, Batman is the world's greatest detective, so he's better than whatever. Yeah, he
absolutely.
Superman is the all-purpose guy, but he is the greatest superhero. So he's just the greatest superhero, but he doesn't really have like
he's outside looking in, and like he has the ability to affect the trajectory of Earth, but is that really his reason to be here?
I look at
he could take over the planet and he could be this overlord that's in control of everything. But you know, like, what do you do when you have absolute power?
He's the patriarch of all the superheroes. He's daddy of all the superheroes. He is the model that you look up to. He creates the example, which is why my character is called the patriarch as an homage to Superman. You know, and he's a father and he's trying to create an example for his children, but he has superpowers, so he's going to make the world a better place. You know, he's got 7 kids. It wasn't until after I started writing, I'm like, he's not a self-insert because, you know, I'm a fat bastard and I'm not a good in shape, but it's a superhero with a beard, you know, so whatever.
Well, still what you perceive, you know, all the things that you perceive in your own comic character, right? Like I was talking about that as well. Like I borrowed from all these various different aspects of science fiction of everything that I loved. Everything that I loved growing up, everything that I love, and I just put it in a blender, and I said, I'm going to tell my own story using all these elements of all the stuff that I've drawn inspiration from.
Right, and I don't see it because first off, all the comic books are pastiches of everything else. Everything derived from Superman.
Humanity has gotten where it is, based on all the steps of everyone who's ever come before us.
You know, like I would like to wake up like first day out of the egg and make up something completely new, but I can't, you know, at this point. Maybe I will someday, but all comic books borrow from something else, you know. So and that's, what do they say? There's only 7 original stories and everything else is just
something like that. It's just a copy of a copy. Yeah. So back to what I was with. So
I see talk about your comic and then I talk about something else.
I'm happy to be here. So this is what I'm introducing with my current campaign on Fund My Comics. So this is issue 1, 2, and 3. I'm working on issue 4 now, which is outside of the graphic novel. Like it's a completely original 32 pages. So anyone who backed the graphic novel, which I've been throwing books around, anyone who backed this, what I'm working on now is a new book. And I got to keep telling people it's a new book. It's a new book. Oh, I thought you were just selling the same old book. It's like, no, I took that book, I split it into floppies. Now I'm working on issue 4, which is 32 new pages of the continuing story. I can do Soltac in 9 issues. So this is also another thing too. It's not something where I'm just going to go on forever and ever and ever.
Oh, okay. That was my next question.
You have it in perpetuity. It's much like Star Wars. This is the first Betrayal is issue 1, 2, and 3. Arise is issue 4, 5, and 6. And Destiny is issue 7, 8, and 9. There you go. Hey, I can count to 10. So so I've got the entire thing written in my head. It's just I'm crowdfunding for the purpose of taking my imagination and turning it into a book. Where I'm at right now with issue 4, We're 24 pages of line art in. We're going to color those next 8 pages next week, which I'm so excited for. So I've only got 8 pages of line art remaining, which is basically January. I'll quickly go through my editors with my script, go through the lettering. I'm going to be fulfilling this campaign for these books in March. So anyone who backs my book, you'll get it in March. But the one thing I want to encourage anybody with this now, if they can back as soon as possible, here's my trading cards that I created for the original campaign on Indiegogo. I'm offering to put 2 more into production, 2 trading cards for every backer. Here, let me show you, which is this villain here, Eye Strife. He's still got some of his biologicalness remaining. He's a kind of a zombie, a cyborg. And then this is the 2 of them here. I think I showed that as a cover. And then his brother, Zero Strife. Let me find that picture. Here it is here. I'm going to offer 2 trading cards to every backer. I just got to raise $200 more on my campaign.
There you go, $200, guys. But it's not $200 to you. It's just a regular old pledge to you, and then everybody's. For those of you who don't understand what stretch goals are,
right. Everybody gets 2 trading cards. Yeah. So every backer gets those.
So Soltac, you want to get Soltac number 4. You pledge. How much is Soltac number 4? Just the basic comic.
It's $12 for the book, $8 for shipping.
There you go. So, unfortunately, we got to ship things, and shipping went crazy. We have no control over that. So for $12, you're going to get the comic. But if that's it. But if he gets enough people where he makes enough money that he can economically make these cards, you're going to get those cards too for the same $12. A few people didn't know what stretch goals were, so I felt like the need to explain that.
No, it's perfect.
And that's what's great, because you see, you got
that's my goal.
Right over there.
I'm not trying to. So what these guys do, and I'm not attacking anyone's hustle, is the goal never ends. The goal line never ends. It's always just something else. I'm printing in March. You see where we're at now. It's December. I'm $200 away from those 2 cards printing, and then I'm at that point where
so the more money we as crowdfunders can get, the more value you get. Like Ethan Van Sciver, people were busting his chops a while ago because it was $25 for his comic. But when I got his comic, I got a toy, and I got 2 other comics. So geez, for $25, I got it turned out to be
trading cards
cheaper than a Marvel comic. So there you go. And that's the goal for all of us, because I want to make pint glasses. I got coins that I want to make. I want to make T-shirts. You know what I mean? But I got big dreams. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
I'm not there yet with the merch. I'm still trying to make.
Yeah, part of me saying just do a comic for the first one, but then people expect merch at this point at the same time too.
Well, that's the beauty of crowdfunding. Is just put it out there. Like, as long as you're not putting any money in, there's nothing to hurt you from doing an image with a mock-up of a hat with the drawing you want.
Well, I got a campaign.
If people buy 8 of them, then hey, you get what I'm saying. So
I'm going to go to. There's a place around the block for me that makes T-shirts, and I want to get like one made and wear it and be like, yeah, this is the actual T-shirt, and then so I could go pick it up and then I don't have to ship it. And I got a place that makes coins. So I've made custom coins before. Now I'm looking to show you the custom coins. Oh, here they are.
I've got a few Aaron Lopresti books myself. Just answering that comment you got in the chat there. I got his big book of fantasies and monsters. I got Wraith of God. I think I've got that as well.
Oh, Wraith of God was right. I can't wait for Kit Car. Could you see this coin?
Yes. Oh wow.
It says John Con, because I used to make board game conventions for my 50th birthday. I was like, I want to have everybody come over and play games. But at that point, before COVID, I had too many friends.
Right.
So we actually went to a hotel and rented a room,
space.
And we all played games. And then I rented a room, and I charged everybody $20. It was like $1,000. Yep. Everybody came, and I wanted to put something in your hand for your $20. So I made dice, and then the second time I made these coins. You know what I mean? Awesome. So I could use the same, and on the back it says it's dice to see you. So I want to make these coins. One side's going to say Heroic Tales, the name of my comic, and the second side is going to have the symbol of the patriarch.
What's interesting is that they come back into your life. Like, do people show up and say, "Hey, I still got this"? Or
well, I never got that stupid shot, so that I'm worse than Hitler. So I don't see them. That's the way it is in Queens. The big cities,
You
people
never know.
agree.
Yeah, that's
You know,
unfortunate.
do you live in a rural area?
Yes, I do very much. My biggest problem are people who basically break into cars to see what they can rummage at them. People who drive by the houses and then they go and they smash and
Yeah,
grab.
yeah,
And then
checking your door handles. We get that
yeah,
too.
bears, moose, and lynx. Maybe that's
Yeah, I had a deer on my lawn.
coyotes.
Yeah.
So I joke, like they always say about putting a wall up with Canada. Like you wouldn't stop. You'd be stopping the moose, the cougars. None of us goes through those wood lines to break into Maine or anything like that. Just don't need to do that. Plenty of fishing for everybody, wildlife, trees.
Yeah, I find that the bigger cities tend to be more collective minded, and the rural areas tend to be more individual minded. And
Yes.
I'm not much of a joiner, so I kind of fit out here. I used to have dreams of living in Manhattan, and when you see Stuart Little, did you ever see that movie? He had this brownstone, I was like, that's my life. And now I'm like, that's my nightmare. Even if I won the lottery, I wouldn't move to Manhattan. No way. If I won the lottery, I'm getting a house out in Alaska someplace, and
I grew up in Toronto, but
Ruth, you seem like
I'm lucky to have grown up in Toronto and being Gen X in the 90s. I think that's what made the cities doable, was because that whole age, the aggression era, attitude era, right, is basically what they call this with Gen X. They tried the same social mindset stuff with us. They started to tell us that certain groups had to move to the front of the line. I don't know if you remember that, like roughly 1990-ish. They tried the same stuff that's going on now. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so
I just want to interrupt you.
Yeah. So, but we as a generation said, don't tell us any of this. Don't tell us someone has to be special. Don't tell us me what to think. Don't tell us what to do. Don't tell me what to believe. Don't tell me what to buy. I mean, that's what Rage Against the Machine was. That's what Nirvana was. And everyone's like, yeah, you know what? You can be whoever you want to be. I respect your right to be you as long as you respect my own freedoms.
Right.
And I don't know where we moved away from that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, because now I call them getting paid by the machine. F you, I'm going to do what you tell me,
Well, I know what happened. I mean, I know the answer. This is what happened. This is what created
social media
brain dead zombies that do what they're told because the device tells them to.
And you know what? I'm every free minute at work, on my commute to work, I'm on my phone. So my wife makes fun of me because she's now on a kick with no social media. She's turning the phone off. And
it's scary to think where's free thought going to be in 100 years or 200 years.
And you know what I found? I was raking my leaves. There's a million leaves. I got to go out and rake leaves as soon as we're done. And so I don't have my phone on me. I'm just raking leaves, and I got music playing in the background, and it's actually pleasant. I came up with the greatest plot for one of my characters, and my wife was at church, and when she came home, she started talking to me. I was like
excited.
I was like mad at her for ruining the stage, and I realized I got more plotting done thinking while raking leaves with no social media. I'm on an hour commute. I'm an hour commute to work, and I'm an hour commute home. I should be daydreaming. Instead, I'm on this phone looking at.
That's what this was. That's what this was to me. So, I mean, I'm not touting my military service, but
what did some people that I don't even like say on Twitter?
Yeah, in Afghanistan, like I mean, I remember one point where we got shelled. Like, this is just one. I was in a lot of craziness. I could go on all day with war stories.
I'm sure you could.
But one particular instance, we got shelled. They kept making us go to these bunkers, and you had to keep sitting there with the air sirens. This particular instance, I was in there in 20 minutes in that bunker. But a lot of the outline for my characters came from just that 20-minute interval of me sitting there going, I'm completely powerless to do anything. I have to sit in this stupid concrete bunker. So bam, start dreaming up outlines for Soltac. And a lot of it, that's what I did. My downtime to decompress myself to you go for very heightened states of alert, like, when you're in combat and experiences, it's hours and hours of boredom. And then it's just seconds of, shit, something just happened. Somebody just fired at us. Where'd they come from? And then you're on the hunt. Then, the situation's dealt with. Getting rid of that energy, you know what I mean? That heightened aggression, testosterone.
The Spartans used to call that fear shedding.
Right. And this is how I would do it: is I would go away, go to my place, and just dream up Soltac. So for me, this is fulfilling. It's not so much the money that it raises; it was just fulfilling a life goal, something that I said I will eventually take all this energy. I will someday write. I will someday put it in. I was going to write novels. Actually, I wasn't going to do
Yeah, I wanted
comics.
to write a novel too. I have scripts for novels. I have a
These are
script for a
easier. These
play.
are so much
I have
easier than
script.
to
I
write
have
a novel.
screenplays. I'm so
Yeah.
pretentious at one point. I wrote a Greek. I wrote a Greek comedy, like in the style of Greeks. How pretentious! Like anybody wanted to see that.
Oh, I wanted to rewrite and modernize the Bible. This is how crazy I was at a younger age. Like, could you imagine? I've come up with the newest version of the Bible. Who the hell do you think you are?
What
you little...
edition? What edition are we going to use in church? The Mad Ruth edition.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah,
you know what?
Is.
You have to be arrogant. You have to be a bit narcissistic to think that people want to read what you wrote. You know what I mean? Because people hand me stuff to read. People give me like.
Well, it just takes time to. It takes time to build that momentum. So you have to accept. So for starters, when you make your first book, there's going to be that new car smell, right? People will back it just because it's the new thing. They may never even read it. They may never even open it. You're probably going to have about.
It may take me 10 years, but I'll read every comic I buy.
Well, it's true though. We've all got boxes full of books we haven't read.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're going to be honest. And then
I have 18 long boxes of comics I haven't read yet.
And then there's the 50% that did read it, and of that 50% that did read it, how many of them come back? So if you get back half of people who bought your book, that's almost enough to say, hey, it's worth it. That's why I did issue 4.
This is from scripture. This is Mad Ruth 3:16. If you get 50% of the people that
they come back,
the gospel
you're doing it right.
Yeah. That's
my
old dirty fatty.
But it just takes time. It just takes time to generate that interest in that book, and you just have to see: do you have are you getting the personal satisfaction, or is it about financial reward?
Are you getting return
backing
customers?
Yeah.
Do you feel you're getting better and better with each campaign? As far as more customers, more backers, more fans, whatever you want to call
I think
them?
right now the market's kind of oversaturated. I don't blame anybody. I think there's just so many books out there right now. There's so many good books out there right now that people have to lower their expectations.
It's not that there's so, because I again, I'm not mentioning any names. I got some crowdfunded comics that I'm like, well, I'm not getting issue number 2. Right. You know, it was a good effort, you know, and I'm glad I got them because I learned a little bit, and you know, and then here I am. You're going to get my comic, and like, well, I thought he said he learned something. You know what I mean? Like, because
again, art's all based on perception.
I'm sorry.
I can read something and I can think it's like, you know, oh, this was really badly written, and then 10 other people see like, this is the greatest thing. This book is awesome. This book was amazing. It had me on floor. It had me on stitches. And like, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but again, that's all.
I put up videos, you know, I don't know if you've watched my channel where I talk, you know, I'll showcase a comic and talk about a comic, and people will tell me, oh, that was so great. It was so funny. And I was like, I was going to delete that. That was awful. You know, and then some that I'm like, oh, this is my best video, and chirps, no comments, you know what I mean? So
I only take down content that's embarrassing. Content's content. I just leave it up, especially if you get monetized. YouTube's going to go through and they're going to scrub your channel, and you're going to wish that stuff you deleted you didn't delete. So that's a big piece of advice.
Say that again. You just got me scared about something.
When you get monetized, YouTube goes through, and all the stuff that you have that contains copyrighted music, copyrighted stuff, they will scrub a lot of that. It happened to Dan Fraga when I think his previous channel, when all of a sudden he blew up because he went on Ethan's channel. YouTube came along and he's like, man, they took away like 30% of my videos, but because it had songs and stuff.
Oh, okay. I avoided music. I have one where they warned me about a copyright strike.
Yeah.
Potential copyright. That was because
it's just monetization, and you know, if they end up having to pay somebody, they're just going to get rid of it. But the minute it costs them money, right? If they're paying you, they get to decide. Yeah.
But you got me scared. I thought you meant anything before monetization they're going to get rid of. I was like,
no. If you have stuff that has copyrights that requires people to be paid paychecks, and all of a sudden now you're monetized, right? And now they're paying you a paycheck. There's stuff there that they're just going to make disappear.
By telepathic money, your video is going by because you did a thing from Winston Churchill that got me a warning.
Yeah.
That should be the only one. So, anything you want to say before I get going? I got to go rake leaves.
No, just thank you so much. It was great to be on with you. And like I said, I also have my own show. It's called the Friday Nights, every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We keep it at under 90 minutes. So we promise both guests and creators, it's 90 minutes. We have not exceeded 90 to this day. It's myself, Jason Sandberg. He's a creator of Jupiter. I don't know if you've backed Jupiter.
I've seen Jason Sandberg, yeah.
Okay. So he's co-host with me. Chris Faction, he was doing those polls on Twitter. Do you remember? It was like he would pit Rini's character against Ethan's or Cyberfrog against Graveyard Shift. He was doing those for basically a summer. I don't know if you remember those polls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Chris was the one behind doing those on Twitter. So those are my two co-hosts on the Friday nights. Me and them, we invite on one guest, so there's only 4 on the screen. Again, this is kind of the army and my micromanaging, right?
Yeah, well, I think 4 is probably the best. After that, it's people shouting at each other. You know?
Right. So there's just the 4 of us. We cover 3 topics for the week that we all determined were the ones that we wanted to talk about. What happened this week, basically, right? So we'll bring up ISOM if there's a new campaign. Pink when she says she banning books in Florida. You know, any of the biggest relevant things that happen on Twitter or on the news. We'll bring those 3 topics in one campaign every Friday at 9 p.m. So, and you're welcome to call on.
Is his YouTube link right down here? You could everybody could copy and paste that and
I appreciate it. And again, let's just support indie creators, support indie channels, support indie books, back something you love and that interests you.
So. You know, it's exciting now, and you know, people have been crapping on social media, which I totally understand, but we also forget we're in control of it. So if you're having a bad time with Twitter and YouTube, that it's up to you to change. I was fighting and yelling at people and yelling and screaming and
wasting your energy and wasting your time and you got better things to do.
Yeah, and I lapsed into it like a couple of weeks ago when that comic book store closed. I got into a worthless argument with Rich Johnston on Twitter.
Oh boy!
And I realized that it was like arguing with either a child, maybe this guy's 6 years old. I don't know. I never seen a picture of him. B, he's pretending, or C, he's just really stupid. And then I said either one of those scenarios is not.
I'm wasting moral superiority. Yeah, that's the part I can't stand the most is the moral superiority where people think that they're somehow better than you.
The comic book industry is doing great because Captain Underpants is selling.
Right.
That's
manga.
Yeah. That's he goes, but don't you understand? They just put in a $4 million print run for Asterix. I'm like, nobody in America reads Asterix. That's great for Europe. That's great for the people who make Asterix. But so you're telling me Jim Hanley's universe is wrong because they don't sell Captain Underpants and they don't sell Asterix. You know, I said, you're very disingenuous. I said, how did you become a journalist? You know, but whatever. And then in the middle of typing, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm making myself angry. You know, I'll go check out Arrow Comics. Yeah. Argue with these guys is providing a service. Yeah. To them, you know,
so it is entertainment. That's the one part they don't get.
I was about to have a heart attack. I had to go take high blood pressure. You know, and I did it to myself. That's my point. Is I did that to myself. You know, Rich.
I'm a bad troll. Like I used to have a really bad reputation on Twitter. It's kind of hurt me within the community a little bit. There's a lot of comic skaters that stay away from me because of early Mad Ruth. I mean, you can only change a little bit as a person. But I used to be one of the worst Twitter. Like I used to just go at people just for shits and giggles, right? Just to amuse myself.
My original Twitter got nuked. You know.
Yeah.
So and it stunk because it was John Longsbach. You know what I mean? It was perfect. Now this is my original Twitter when I wasn't even. So I got to be careful. I can't let this get new.
I've learned to bring that person down. So if there's anyone that is looking at Mad Ruth from 2018, honestly, I'm one of those people. You're cool with me. I'm cool with you.
Well, that's why I got no problems. Everybody's like a little mad at your boy Zach because he's not as salty as he used to be.
If he started diversity in comics again, I bet you people would change very quickly.
I'm sorry?
If he started his channel again, diversity in comics, I bet you people would change very quickly.
I don't know. I also think the mainstream is turning a corner. I think they realized, you know, now but it's too little, too late. You know, even if they resurrected Carrie Fisher and managed to make a Star Wars movie and put those 3 people in the same, I'm not going to watch it. You know,
you had your chance to have them in the same frame and you never did.
I moved on. You can't step in the same river twice. You know, I was bathing in Marvel and DC for 30 years, 40 years, and I got out of the water and. You know,
you flat out told me that I'm no longer welcome as a customer. I'm too old. You don't care. I'm 1 foot in the grave. You're not even looking at me anymore because I'm conservative in my values for the most part. Even though if you sat down and talked to me, you'd be surprised how compromising I am as a person because I do believe in everyone's right to exist.
I'm conservative by modern definitions. Right. I still think I've always been an individualist as far as like, you want to do drugs, you want to do drugs, you want gays to get married, it doesn't bother me. You know, I remember in the 90s, my friends would get mad at me because I was a liberal hippie saying, you know, if gays get married, then that'll solve the abortion because then they could adopt the kids that the other people, you know, and they're like, you freaking hippie, you know. And now I still think the same thing. And now Gail Simone's calling me a Nazi, you know.
Right.
And I always say, well, Nazis are
I'm the
left.
same way.
Yeah.
All my conservative friends would say, that's awfully liberal of you. I'd be like same with gay marriage. I'd be like, what difference does it make to you? What do you care? It's a bond between two people that they've agreed that they're going to be by each other's side for the rest of their lives. Like, what do you care?
You know what argument drives me nuts? When people are like, well, some of my best friends are whatever, black, Asian, gay, whatever. And then, oh, you see? And I'm like, well, then how am I going to prove it? You know, if I'm not hanging out with if they're not in my house at my dinner table, then, you know what I mean? Then basically your accusation is the damning proof. But, you know, there's nothing, you know, some of my best friends are lizard people. Well, that's what people who hate lizard people say, you know. Well, then there's no proof.
I've got people from 20 years ago coming out and they're saying, I heard you're like really extreme right now. And it's like, no, man, I'm the same fucking person I was 10, 20, 30 years ago. I haven't changed. That's just
a buddy of mine posted on Twitter. And again, I'm not going to mention names because I'm not here to out people and start fights. But he said, the alt-right, I'm trying to say, you know, people are something about the alt-right was the enemy and blah, 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 blah. And I just said there was the extreme right. People are, because now progressive is falling out of favor, so they're kind of making amends with the extreme right. And I said there was no extreme right. There was never an extreme right. The extreme right was a boogeyman created so that we could attack these people. But what you labeled the extreme right were people like, you know, maybe there should be borders. You know, maybe we should have borders on our country. And that person became the extreme right. There was never an extreme right.
I would argue the extreme right outed themselves because they were openly wear their swastikas and openly exhibit.
That's not extreme right. That's identity politics.
But what I'm getting at is they had the freedom of expression, so you could see people for who they were. But thanks to the left and suppression of people's thoughts and beliefs, and if you say certain things, all they've done is driven all that stuff underground. So now you don't know who's who anymore. I mean, that's the whole main reason why you want freedom of expression. So somebody can explain to me exactly how horrible their views are, and I can say, you know what, I don't want to work with you.
Right. So, I'm all for being above the board. Tell me you're a Nazi. Tell me you're a socialist. Tell me you're a communist. You know, I love when I see guys wearing a Che Guevara shirt because then I don't talk to them. You know, it's you know. Right. But I will say, like these guys, like these neo-Nazis. You know, we don't like black people. We don't want race mixing. That's identity politics. That's groupthink. That's collectivism. That's left wing.
Exactly. You're right.
You know what? So when people say to me, "Oh, you right wing Nazi," I'm like, no. I'm open-minded. The only spectrum, and I when I say this, I said it's individualism versus collectivism, and that's the only lens that politics should be viewed for. So neo-Nazis, they're collectivists. Collectivism is left-wing. Collectivism thought.
Authoritarianism is our way or nothing. You either have to conform with the group or be exterminated. Yeah.
So if you're saying, oh, extreme right because of neo-Nazis, like, well, no, that's identity politics. Identity politics is a collectivist thought, and collectivism is left-wing. You know, there's a guy in our group who actually calls himself a commie, and I'm like, that's not cute. That's not funny. I don't know if you're pretending, but I get mad whenever I see him. I'm like, oh, Nazi. Well,
I don't know if we're talking about the same guy, but if we got one in our group, it's partially humor. I mean, he does say that, you know, he does believe a lot of socialist ideas.
Well, would you think it's cute if I called myself Nazi John? Hey, it's Nazi John. That's so cute. You know,
I get it.
I hate Illinois Nazis. Yeah, the Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers. My favorite line in the Blues Brothers is like, "Hey, look, baby clothes. This place has everything."
I just remember the police chase.
yeah, ultimate police chase. Well, you know what? Now we're straying. Oh, I hate communism. I have commie mark blocked. I don't know. I just think if somebody showed up, called himself, I'm not Nazi Ruth. Hi, I'm Nazi. I'm cute. I'm being funny. You know.
Yeah, I get it.
The deaths of 125 million people is so funny, so hilarious. You know, mass starvation. Let's talk about Ethiopians who can't get food now. Yay! Everybody has AIDS. Isn't that funny? You know,
I don't think anybody looks that far into it. I mean, then you'd be going after Mel Brooks too. I mean, I get you.
Well, Mel Brooks wasn't.
You know what I'm saying? But it's again different art for. It's just not your book. That's the way I see it.
Was Mel Brooks calling himself Nazi Brooks? No, no. I'm Nazi. I'm a Nazi. You know,
I just say to each their own. If somebody out there's doing something that's just not my thing, they can do it.
I know. My point being is that communism should be treated with the same vitriol as Nazism. Yeah. because they're both the same thing. They're both extreme collectivism. Right. But bye, everybody.
Ultimately,
feel good. That was our feel good talk. So hey, let's end this on comic book related stuff.
Sure.
All right, well, Soltac is your comic. Issue number 4 is an active campaign coming out right now. It's on Fund My Comic. Fund My Comic is run by Luke Stone, who's one of us. He's a comic book guy. I don't think he would get mad at me for saying that, you know, there's bugs and there's glitch and stuff like that, but he's working it out. It gets better every day. This is a guy who's one of us. He's not going to block you. My big fear is I'm going to go on Kickstarter, do all this work, spend all this money, and they're going to find a tweet that I don't like, and then.
So I'd like to pitch a few things with Fund My Comic. So here's a bit of things people don't know. Soltac, my book, was actually the second campaign ever on Fund My Comic, right behind Luke's Hybrids. And then a lot of his experimentation with the new features he did with Soltac. So what he does is every money that site earns, when you leave a tip, it actually goes into making the site better. So he did start off with an even playing field with basically taking money from Stripe and then creating a crowdfunding campaign with it. So everyone could do that basic foundation, but he has built so much additional code, so many options. He's even starting to get into wage shipping. So basically when you go into a campaign, you can just pick, like, this is where it's going to go, the future of Fund My Comic. You could pick 7 different things in someone's campaign. The page will then weigh those items and what the cost to ship.
Awesome.
This is where we're going with Fund My Comics.
Awesome. You know, he's doing so many things to help us. So you know, to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer because again, he's one of. I emailed him and I said, you know, I want to do my comic to see your thing. Is there any possible way that, like, since you know that I'm going to be on, could I set up like an email list? You know, so like John's comic is coming, Heroic Tales is coming. Get them email, even though I didn't set up. And he was like, "Yeah, we'll talk later. I'm doing a family function right now." I was like, "Okay," you know.
Has he reached back out to you yet, or?
I'm sorry. No, he'll probably get back to me on Monday. It's the weekend, you know. He's involved with his church functions, stuff like that. You know, it's the weekend.
Yeah, and he will. Yeah, and if he doesn't, just remind him. Because Luke's makes himself.
Well, he's going to be on my channel this week anyway, so you know.
Awesome.
So but I just love that. It's an idea that I just thought of. I bounced it off him. He's like, "Yeah, we already do that." You know, this is a guy who's open to new ideas.
He's like Tyler Durden in a way that, like, he just never sleeps.
Oh, okay.
He just keeps going.
Well, he slept for 5 months straight. He's done.
Yes.
He's done. For those who don't know what we're talking about, he was in a coma for COVID. And yes, we're making light of it. Sorry, Luke. But he's got a great outlook. He's got a great you know, it's visionary. This is something that I do think is important, and it's something that should be considered. I'm not going to tell people use Fund My Comic, you know, but maybe I'm naive. I don't see how people like, I only like Indiegogo. I only like, that's like saying, like, you know.
I get it. I mean, I was that way with Image, right? I'd be saying, you know, I'm only buying Image comics. I was there.
Yeah, you people, but you know what? Good stuff is good stuff. You know, even at the height of my Marvel collecting, when I wouldn't touch DC with a 10-foot pole, I still got Legion of Superheroes and New Teen Titans because how could you not? You know, they were great comics. You know, there was good stuff. But anyway, I mean, if we got 10 viewers right now. If you are like, I'm not going to go there because it's Kickstarter, or I'm not going to go there because it's Fund My Comic, or I'm not going to go there because you're really hurting yourself. You know, again, I'm not a collectivist guy. You know, go look at the individual title and make a decision based on the merits of that title. I also have the luxury.
You have to look out for you. That's right.
I have the luxury of saying I like Mad Ruth, so I will look at whatever you do. You know, from now on. Yeah, we had a good talk. You know, personality helps. You know, we all got to be our own Stan Lee. You know.
That's right. No, it's awesome. Thank you so much. I had a great Sunday. So.
So again, I keep saying. You take us out, and then I interrupt you and talk for 20 minutes. So,
let's
put this up one more time.
Well, thank you to everyone in the chat. Yeah, thank you, Marcus.
Yeah, the chat's been great.
Grey Wolf.
Marcus asked to be a moderator or a wrench or whatever it was, and it took me like 4 months to figure out how to do it. Marcus, thank you. You're a great help. You know, every time we mention your comic, he throws up your links. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So I don't know what else to say other than check out number 4 campaign. Oh, this is what I wanted to ask you. Could I get issue 1, 2, and 3, the floppies?
Yes. So all 4 issues are available for $30.
Great. You know, because I talked to some guy. He's like, yeah, issue 4 is coming out. I'm like, oh, great. Can I get issue number 1, 2, 3? No, because it was limited edition. And if I'm like, well, then I'm not getting 4. Don't you know comic book fans?
Yeah,
don't you know comic book fans? We're crazy.
26 pages. Like, I don't know if you've seen the artwork in my books, but
yeah, the art looks great.
It's top notch, right? Like, I don't even know Kurt Hathaway from Image Comics. He's my letterer.
Okay.
So he worked on like Brigade, Bloodstrike. He worked with Dan Fraga a lot.
Oh, cool.
I think he did Black Flag, like the original Black Flag. But yeah, that's.
I was about to say something, then I realized it was going to sound insulting. But that looks like a real comic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it looks good.
And it fulfills in March, so it won't be too long.
Yes, good. And you said March is when you're hoping to put these comics.
I'll be shipping it out. I'll be shipping it out myself too. People want them signed and stuff. It's not part of the campaign. Just DM me if you bought off me. I will make a note that this guy said he wants his book signed, and I'll do that extra thing for you for free.
Cool, cool. All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, everybody. I got to go rake leaves. I've been stalling because I really don't want to, but maybe I'll daydream another plot for comics, without my cell phone. But thanks a lot, everybody. Mad Ruth, thank you for coming by. It was a pleasure talking to you. Sorry I got you out in the weeds and we talked about stuff that,
I love this about this community. I don't have to be afraid of anybody. I'm retired. Yeah.
And you
shouldn't. If they don't commit a felony, they can't do nothing to me.
And you shouldn't be. Isn't it weird that the good guys are living in fear? Gail Simone said she liked Miss Marvel's original costume, and the claws and hooks came out and made her retract her statement. But anyway, I digress. Thanks a lot, everybody in the chat. Thank you, Marcus, for being a moderator, and thank you, Mad Ruth, for coming down. Luke Stone, who we've been talking about, will be on Friday night on my channel. I have really questions for him. He's a great guy. Please do check out Fund My Comic. I can't stress this enough. It's important. It's only been around for like 7 months, and considering
March. Yep.
Yeah. So what he did in 7 months is like a Herculean effort, So I'm really impressed, and I do think that in the future this is going to be like, why would you go to Kickstarter? Why would you go to Indiegogo when this guy is
we're fighting for our independence? Yeah. So they can't tell us what to do.
Once it's going to take another major comic book creator to get screwed over by Kickstarter or Indiegogo before people start, and I think the tide is turning. I think it's
it already has. There's books that Kickstarter and Indiegogo. The green site and the pink site have kicked off.
Yeah, I know. That's what Luke says.
Welcomes them in with open arms. Hey, there are some guidelines. You can't have stuff with children. Obviously, you can't have. You know what I mean?
Common sense. You can't have illegal stuff.
Pornography.
And you have to own your characters.
Yeah.
I can't make a Batman comic. You know what I mean? Or Spider-Man.
We don't read your book, so as long as your campaign doesn't reflect it, no one's going to know until they open your book. It's not like we have KGB agents who swoop down from the chimneys and read your book to see what's in there.
I thought you were going to say nobody's going to read your book anyway. I was like,
no. What I'm getting at is Fund My Comics.
I know what you meant.
The campaign has to meet guidelines to meet the strike payment. The people who so obviously it has to be within some sort of guides of decency. But it is very much a free speech platform for free creatives who don't like the strains and confines of people telling you what to do.
How bizarre is that a Christian guy is all for free speech and letting you do what you want in individuality? It's almost as if we were told the wrong thing by so many people for so many years, right?
It's God's place to judge, not mine.
Yeah. All right. That's a good way to. It's God's. Yeah. We'll go with. Here we go. That's from the Mad Ruth Bible, 3:16. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you.